There is literally so much to talk about. What's up guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Dusty, one half of Our Radiant Gaming, and let's go ahead and break down this trailer. This trailer starts out with sort of an ominous character that has a lot of the markings that we've already seen for the previous Tears of the Kingdom trailers, and this is a character we've obviously never seen in Breath of the Wild 1, and really one I think we've never ever seen before. Notice the non-human features, the super long ears, and all the swirls on the edge that really mimic all the symbols that we've seen throughout this whole game. Next is a war between what looks like either the ancient Hyrule soldiers or maybe even the Zonai. We can see there's Malice all throughout and some dead soldiers laying on the battlefield. It is uncertain to me whether this is in the past or whether this is a prophecy. I think I'm leaning more towards the past though. Next we see the same creature sitting on a platform, and they are sitting in a position that feels like they are a godlike figure, or maybe that they are being worshipped. Notice the tear-like features of the clothing as well, and to the left you can see some statues, and if we're being honest, they look just like the statues we've seen in Breath of the Wild that are from the Zonai. The Zonai, if you don't know, are mysterious creatures in Breath of the Wild, and we know nothing about them other than the fact that they were there, they left some ruins, and then they disappeared. They are very, very mysterious creatures. And on the sides we see some clouds indicating that this creature is in the sky, which makes sense since a lot of this game will take place in the sky. I'm not sure if the lines around her are just indicating that this creature is a godlike creature, like showing radiance or something, or maybe this is rain, as later we can see why this could be important. The most notable thing in this scene are the 7 shapes we see. These shapes certainly resemble the relics you get in Skyward Sword like a whole lot. And since Skyward Sword is the very first game in the Zelda timeline, it seems that these creatures are even before that. The 7 symbols could represent the 7 sages that sealed away Ganon, and since they are tear-shaped, it could be where we get the name Tears of the Kingdom. Next we see a female character who I at first thought was falling, and then I got reminded of when Zelda fell in the earlier trailer, but it seems that she's being lifted up since there is Malice below her, as if she's getting lifted up by Malice the same way everything else in this trailer gets lifted up by Malice. Now when we first see this character, it's pretty obvious it's Zelda, right? That's where your mind immediately goes. I have seen some fans say though that this could be Ganondorf. And if that's the case, that would make this very interesting. I do believe that it is way more likely Zelda though. The next scene we see those same Zonai statues, some hieroglyphs that I obviously can't understand, but they do look like the green swirly stuff we've seen in the older trailer. I also see these lines everywhere, which now I do believe is not rain, but more of a depiction of radiance since it is going sideways. We then see the same character cupping hands with someone who has the similar bangles on their wrist, who is clearly the same character who's from the very first scene that we believe to be the Zonai. And it's worth noting that this character is also more than likely, considered the bangles on the arm, the same character we see holding Ganon in the first trailer, also saving Link from falling, restoring his hand, and really just all the green aura we see everywhere. Now it's pretty clear from this angle that this is Princess Zelda. It could still be argued that it's Ganon, but if you look closely at the 2019 trailer, Ganon doesn't have pointy ears like this character and Zelda does. Could possibly be argued as well that this could be the very first hero we see all throughout these trailers. That does seem to be a stark contrast to the blue tunic, regular time Link we all know from Breath of the Wild, as that version of Link has his hair down and it seems longer. But I think we could all agree that this is more than likely Zelda. Crazy thing is though, the only Zelda we've seen in Tears of the Kingdom is a short-haired version of Zelda. So this obviously must be an older Zelda, and if it is the Zonai, it is very old, obviously before Skyward Sword, considering the relics we got are the same, and Skyward Sword is the first in the Zelda timeline. And if she is connecting with the Zonai, then it must be the very first Zelda. We do see 2 more of those tears above them as it scrolls, and then in the next scene we are met with Link pushing open 2 huge doors, which has the symbol of the dragons, which we know from the title reveal is the dragons that resemble if you played Xenoblade Chronicles 3 this year or a Boris. It also definitely symbolizes the linking of the hands between Zelda and the Zonai figure we've seen earlier as they are shown back to back. If you look really close, Link is pushing open the door on what looks to be an eye. Now, why is this important? Because the Sheikah logo is an eye with a tear falling down it. Tears of the Kingdom, Sheikah, Zonai, everything is coming together. As the doors open, we see Link is clearly coming out of some sort of building that seems to be pretty big since the corridor before the doors is pretty long as well. This does put me in mind of if you slow down the 2019 trailer here, you can see what seems to be a dungeon, a classic Zelda dungeon. This is something that I know a lot of fans for Tears of the Kingdom want, and I'm not going to say that it's definitely a dungeon, but it is very, very interesting. Could just be maybe how the game starts the same way Breath of the Wild started with Link in the Shrine of Resurrection. Either way, it's something that I noticed, and I think it's way too big to be overlooked. It's also clear that we're in the sky, and if you've watched any of my Tears of the Kingdom theory videos videos before, you'll know that my friend Mark has actually theorized the fact that we will explore these Skylands, going through dungeons, collecting stuff to restore the Master Sword. And this makes tons of sense and something that we will see here in a second. Also, notice Link's new shield here. Now, we know the Traveler Shield was a big symbol for Breath of the Wild, and what's on the Traveler Shield? 2 dragons looking opposite ways. We do also see Link wear this in the 2021 trailer. Dragons are a huge theme in this. Very, very huge theme, obviously, as the logo is literally 2 dragons in a circle. But here we see, obviously, another shield that seems to be a symbol piece. A Sheikah eye with more than 1 tear flowing from it. There seems to be 7, to be exact. 7 tears of the kingdom. Just like the 7 symbols around that mysterious figure. When the camera flips, it's clearly a different scene because they like to torture us. And we see that Link is running on one of the sky platforms. Some ancient ruins are behind him. They totally resemble the Great Plateau in my opinion. And more landmasses are floating with trees and whatnot. Look closely at Link's left hip. There are vials of the green substance we have seen all throughout these trailers. Link has collected 4 of these, but there seems to be room for 8. What we could be seeing here is Link has to go to these dungeons on these landmasses, collect these vials of tears to restore the Master Sword and save Hyrule. And we will talk about the Master Sword being restored later. This is just like what my buddy Mark speculated. Now we see the 7 tears above the Zonai figure, right? And we have room for 8 vials. Maybe the 8th one is the Zonai creature itself, or maybe it's just for aesthetic purposes that they included 8 locations just in case, just so it didn't look weird with 7, but I definitely think that the 8th one does include that Zonai creature. Notably, we do see what I literally had no idea why they showed in the earlier trailers, a puddle of water in reverse. We do know that this reverse time mechanic is one of the new mechanics in this game, as they showed it off in an earlier trailer. They also show it off in this trailer later on. It's clear here that they were showing off a tear in reverse. And this could just be pure symbolism. And now that we know what it is, we go back and like, oh, okay, I get it. They were teasing the name back then and now we understand. Or it could mean that we have to collect these tears throughout the game with the time reversal mechanic. Obviously, the color of this tear in the older trailer is different than the color of the vials on Link's hip. Maybe these tears are something we could collect like Korok poops in the first game. Instead of Korok poops, we're collecting tears, which is much darker. Right before Link jumps off, we see a massive structure that definitely looks like the first Zonai creature we see in the first storyboard. The tiers of the building also look the same, and maybe this is the building where they reside. We did also see a small glimpse of this in an older trailer as Link uses his glider. Also, off in the distance, you can see a dragon flying in the sky. Yes, that's so cool. I can't really tell if this is the dragon Dynarol, Farish, or Nadra, or maybe a new dragon we haven't seen before, but it's a dragon nonetheless. Taco on Twitter mentioned in September of 2021 how the dragons will play a big role in Breath of the Wild 2, which we now know is Tears of the Kingdom. How cool would it be to see more of these mysterious dragons we've seen in Breath of the Wild come to play in Tears of the Kingdom? We clearly will, as the logo does depict some dragons, and the dragons are kind of a big deal subtly in this trailer. Link then jumps from a dive into a Skyward Sword type fall, and we can see that Hyrule is pretty far below these floating landmasses. Hope you're not scared of heights. We get another glimpse of the time reversal mechanic as we mentioned earlier, as Link jumps on a piece of debris that totally fell from the sky and has to go upwards to the sky, which I absolutely love. I really wondered how we were going to get to the sky masses, and it's cool that this is at least one way, if not the main way, that we will get there. As Link floats upwards, we can see in the distance a floating landmass that has a huge lightning storm around it. Originally, I thought that if the rain we've seen in the first image of the Zonai creature, that this could be where they reside, but if it's not rain, maybe this could just be a separate trial for Link like we've seen in Breath of the Wild. Then, for the first time in the trailer, we're introduced to the Link that 100% looks like a past Link, and wow. He even has an old prehistoric axe made from bone and stone on his back. Come on, Nintendo, you're toying with our minds here. Both Links do seem to be missing their right arms in this trailer, so my goodness, if it isn't confusing whether this is a past Link or the hero from the Breath of the Wild legend, or just a different outfit, like you can customize Link even further in this game than just changing his outfit in Breath of the Wild. But it does certainly feel like there is a different timeline in my opinion. One super crazy thing is that Link is climbing up tree roots in the dark. If you notice literally every other landmass you see in the trailer, there is no tree roots on the side of them. But on this specific one, there is. We know that Iji and Numa said that we would get to explore the ground and the sky in Tears of the Kingdom, but not only that, but that the expanded world will go beyond that. That is something I really picked up on in the delay announcement, and people have speculated that it could be underwater exploration, and I could see that. But before I also mentioned this, I really thought he meant underground exploration, as I pointed out the small glimpse of what seems to be a dungeon. And to be honest, I think we may be seeing that here. It seems that this scene could either be at night, I'm aware, or that it is underground. I don't see tree roots anywhere else in this scene either, so this may just be a specific part of the landmass with a tree root. Something to do with the story. Maybe it's like a ladder in some games and it's just tree roots in this game that you can climb. But as you could not climb rock wall surfaces in Breath of the Wild either, it's possible that you can't climb these landmasses unless they have tree roots. The scenery around it definitely does make it fall in line with maybe it's just nighttime, but how awesome would it be if we did get underground exploration in this game? We then see what I'm going to call present time Link falling again, more landmasses in the sky, and if you look closely here and in the box art, you will see that the Malice is literally pouring out of Death Mountain. It seems that wherever Ganon awoke, the Malice is really just pouring throughout the earth, separating it. We see more landmasses off in the distance as Link falls, some large, some small. Then the wing glider picks him up and we see a mysterious hieroglyph of the Zonai figure we seen at the beginning of the trailer, and if you look super close right before the dragons appear, you can see the same swirly green stuff that was around Ganon in the first trailer here at the bottom. As for the hieroglyphs, I have no actual idea what this can mean. Some people have said it could just be the landing spot for the glider, but I think it's probably something more than that. As far as what that is, I don't know. I'll have to definitely dig more and think more and speculate more on what these could be. And as for the swirly green stuff, the only time we did see that is coming up from Ganon, so could it be that it's really retracted to the Malice or something super evil in this game? When the full name does appear, we do see that this is a scene where Zelda and the Zonai creature are linking hands, clearly depicting that it is a part where we would get the dragon logo circle, as the dragon logo and their hands kind of look the same. Now, if it is Ouroboros, which we've seen in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and we know the devs of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 help out with the Legend of Zelda, we know what this symbol is, and it represents the constant circle of life and death. The logo for Tears of the Kingdom dragons is literally the same as the Zonai ruins in Breath of the Wild. You could also argue that the tears in this trailer also represent the markings on those very statues. We also see the Master Sword has been restored after seeing it broken in the delayed trailer, and that it is restored by the same power that restores Link's hand. Whatever this green stuff is certainly has a lot of power and a lot of capabilities. I've seen some fans speculate that the Zonai creature is not just some random person, but actually that it is the goddess Hylia herself. This would depict why she is crying over the never-ending cycle of Ganon destroying everything and life and death, hence Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I think Nintendo is very clever. I also think IG Aonuma and the rest of the Legend of Zelda devs are also very clever. With that being said, I believe Tears of the Kingdom actually has a dual meaning. Because tear and tear are spelled exactly the same, I can't help but plug in Tears of the Kingdom in some parts of this game. Think of how the Malice is tearing apart the land. I mean, the castle is literally lifted into the air. Some of the land is also ripped apart and now floating. Also think about how the Zonai are clearly in Tears of the Kingdom, and about how there does possibly seem to be two different time periods going on here. And about how this game, since they are crying over the curse of demise, how maybe this could be the tearing apart of the timeline. And all of that to say this: I can't wait for all of us to be wrong and for every theory to be wrong and for us to actually find out what happens in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. There are tons to still be speculated, so definitely subscribe, hit that like button, be on the lookout for more videos about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Whether it is 8 months away or not, I am so excited. You guys have an amazing day and God bless.